Alright, what's up guys? Today I'm doing another Go live coding, as you can probably tell already. What I'm doing today, I'm back inside of my push button QFF project, and I'm trying to clean up how I do the config file parsing. So just to show you an example, I basically have, let's look at this. This is what the config files look like. So it's basically just a bunch of key value pairs. Let me make this bigger. What is it? Size? Oh, height. Okay, let me make that a little bigger. There we go. And then I guess I'll also turn on screen key. So I also added a scratch pad to my DWM setup. So if I hit mod escape, I can pop this up. So let's just launch PyCom and screen key. Okay, great. So yeah, basically the config file is just a bunch of key value pairs with the one wrinkle of the geometry part that has these brackets. And so basically what I was trying to do, put this one. So basically what I was trying to do is unmarshal that into a config struct. But the problem I'm having is that is that some of the parts of this depend on more than one line in the config file. So, as I've written here, is I actually need to make two passes. The first pass is just going to extract all of them as strings, and then once I have them as strings, I can process them into something like this. Now, I'm pretty sure this is like the first implementation of this that I had. But I changed it to something else to make it easier to add new keywords. And then last week I changed it to the current state to make it more streamlined. But I still have these ugly things down here where, like these, like process geom needs to know about the geom type, which is another line in the input file. So I have to process those after I finish reading the input. So it just makes a lot more sense to read and extract all the key value pairs, and then I can do the post-processing. And the other thing I'm hoping to do today is make the whole thing a little more functional. So if we look up here, I'm actually setting fields in this global config variable. If we hit if I hit GD, it'll take me here to this global variable. So I'm planning to make this function, so this is going to return the map of strings, I think. We may actually split like an inner function out here. Parsing file may still be our main thing. This might return a config. But basically we're going to have some function from like here to here that's going to extract the map, and then I'm probably going to define, like make a type alias on that map to something else, so I can define a method on it. So basically the goal syntax I'm going for is something like, so let's see, we have, well, I'll just start outlining it. So I'm thinking type raw conf is not a struct, a map of string to string, and then I can define a function on that. What should we call that? Raw conf. Raw conf. I don't know. I mean, 2config makes sense. I don't think it needs to take any arguments. And it's going to return instead of setting a global, it's going to return a config, which I already have defined. Oh, it's mad about the untyped nil. Okay, so then inside parse in file, let's see. So I'm going to need some function to actually return a raw conf. To me, that's what parse in file should do. So why don't we just do parse in file? So eventually I'll have a call like this, parse in file. It's going to return a raw conf. So after in file dot to config is how I get my config. And so the reason I do something like this is so I can call it with the dot instead of having to do like to config like that instead. Okay, so I think that'll work. So parse in file parses an input file specified by file name into a raw conf. Okay, so this is going to return a raw conf, and we're going to need to actually make a raw conf. So this is fine. We can go ahead and open the file, defer closing it, we'll start scanning it, and basically, let's see, process input. Let's see, what does this do? Evil go-to definition. I think, what? I thought I bound this to something. What did I bind it to? Xref go-to. Let me look at my input file. Control meta period. Okay. Control meta period. There we go. Process geom. Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted this. Process input. So this is actually a different map. This is not related. I think I'm going to keep most of this, but it's going to go somewhere else. So I think I'm just going to put this split. Okay, we're going to keep process input as something else. So I am going to split this. Okay. So I need to be working on the tests as well, but we'll do that in a second. Alright, so let's say ret equals make. Can I make a raw conf? Is that how it works? Okay. So basically, case strings, trim space. Okay, so process input is actually going to be quite easy. What is it? Geometry. Process input. Block.string. So I think what it does is just accumulate it. This is going to be great. We're going to write a new test so I can actually see what comes out of this. Alright, so the geometry is the only weird one that like puts us into these block environments. Let's see. If it contains an open brace, keyword is the first thing. Okay. Block.writeString keyword. Yep. So it'll, yeah, it does geometry equals, and then we just keep writing to it. Okay. Okay. Well, this is kind of cute actually. So here, I can make a func. This one needs to take a pointer. So let's just make all pointer receivers. RC raw conf add so the essence of what we're doing here is that we need to the absolute core of process input right now is the split. Basically we're just splitting the key value pair on equals, and then ret of key equals val is what I need to do. So I'll just encapsulate that all in this add function or method. So yeah, I'm just gonna take line key val, and of course I'm putting these to lowercase just to make it so that the input file should basically be case insensitive. So I'll just always set it to lowercase, and then RC of key equals val. RC invalid operation, can't index RC. Oh no. Oh god. Okay, great. So ret. Okay. And then all you do, ret.add. Great. So wherever it's called process input, I just call ret.add. And then I need to make this return a pointer to the raw conf. Okay, sure. Okay, let's try to test this. So that, what I just hit is a Control-C, Shift-P, and so what it does is basically set up this window configuration for programming. So it looks at this buffer file name. Oh, that's pretty neat. And as you can see down here, if the buffer's not already open, it'll just find the file. And I recently added it so that it will work the other way as well. If I'm in the test file, it'll find the one without the test file. Okay. Type bool. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and test this file. So we'll do a short test to start. This is probably gonna freak out. Yeah. No geometry given, really. I'm honestly quite surprised that this even works at all. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is awful. So it works because we used to just mutate this global variable, and we don't do that anymore. So, oh god. Alright. So, let's find references to makers. So we call it main.go. Is this the only place I call it here? Okay, no, it looks like I call it here. So we test makers separately. Basically what I'm looking at is I'm about to delete, what? I'm about to delete this test main, because I definitely test this other places, Parsing file. Yeah, I don't know why, I don't know why I had that actually, main test. Okay, I'm gonna delete this. Let's try this again. Okay, here we go. So those are just skip tests, no geometry given, and test parsing file. Okay. So let's look at this parsing file. Great. So I can actually get rid of this, Because what I was doing before is, I think I've talked about this in previous videos, where I'm like saving the state of this global variable. So I'm not doing that anymore. So I don't have to do that. Now I'm actually returning a conf. So in this case I should do parsing file dot to config. So I told it to config. Why doesn't it like this? Can I call pointer method on raw conf? Yeah, this needs to return a pointer like I thought. But for some reason, what's the problem here? That's what I don't really understand, is that it upgrades it or converts it to a pointer to call these methods. Well, I don't know. Whatever. This one should be good. Pop conf got test.1. Okay. No geometry given. Where's that panic coming from? Okay, so we don't need to call process geometry anymore. Okay, so this returns a raw conf. I can take all of this out. That all needs to go into config. So parse in file just gives us these key value pairs. To config. Now I can actually do all of this stuff. Alright. Now the question is, right, let's delete that. First, the input file specify file name into a raw conf, and this is where raw conf is. And I'll go ahead and delete this. Now that we have the raw config, is we need to convert it to a regular config. So, what do I want to do here? I think now I can use basically what I'd written before. So we're using a reflection, and we're looping over the fields of the config. Yeah, okay. Process input. I think this goes inside of dot to config. Okay. I have to scoot some stuff around. Okay. I'm going to delete these comments and then comment this out. I'll call it ret again. So we'll say ret equals new config. And if we go take a look at new config, yeah, this gives us a config struct with all the default options. So now, starting with those default options, I can just loop over. I can do all this stuff. Process input. So put this inside new config. Let's just take a look at this for a second. So we got the new config. Yeah, this is a, yeah, let's take that comment with us. So this is pretty interesting, I think, because we're going to try to use reflection down here. So, for example, if the key is deltas, then I call some special thing. Well, actually, that's what's supposed to be in this case. So, see, every time I get a key, I'm going to look it up in this special map, And if I find something, OK will be true. So we'll take this case. So I set f to the function that I get when I looked up the key. And if I found one, I just call that function. So for example, for this one, I'm trying to parse it into a regular expression. So I need to call regex.mustCompile on it. And this lets me basically put all these special cases up here at the top instead of sprinkling them in like this, which I should have done here. But you see, and then in the general case, if the type of the field is like string, for example, this way I don't have to hard code all of the cases. I only have to hard code kind of the unique cases. So if it's a string, I'll handle it this way. If it's a float 64, I can handle it this way. If it's this is actually a slice of float 64. So, but it has a special input, so that definitely needs to go in the special extractor function or section. Yeah, for like if it's an integer, I want to parse it from the string. If it's a float, I also want to parse it as a string. Man, this looks so similar. I did install Go 118 beta, so this would be a good time probably for generics, like parse number or something. I'm not sure they actually have that. But, I don't know. Anyway, this is looking okay. So, key val. Alright, so we no longer have line, is the big thing, because I just took this out. I used to call this function on one line at a time. So this time I have all the lines, which is great. Which means I can operate on all of them. Good. Okay. So I think I can get rid of this because I already have the key value stuff set up. So for keyword in visible fields of type of const. Now it's going to be type of ret. Let's do this. Period. Let's look at these fields on the other side. So we're looping over the visible fields of the struct. Type of ret. The reflection package is a little confusing to me. I haven't used it very much. Which I think I think that's supposed to be the case. I think I was reading I read in the past the Go programming language, and they say if you find yourself reaching for reflection, you should probably reconsider. But this is kind of the textbook example of using reflection. Is I'm trying to do the marshalling, and if you look at the JSON package, for example, I mean you just have to use reflection in these cases. So unmarshal. If we just look at we just look for reflect, yeah. So type, reflect that type, reflect that type. So we're going to be doing all kinds of reflection when you're trying to unmarshal this stuff. I was thinking generics were going to help a lot with this, but I think at the end of the day you still have to do some kind of reflection. Okay, so we're looping over the visible fields of the struct, which in this case is all of them. The key name is that field.name, because this obviously it gives you this type.struct field. So let's hop over to not source pkg slash reflect. What is it? Type struct field. It has name. So we want the field name, and then we're also going to be using the field type. I think we have a switch on the field type. Well, not quite. So we get the name. Again, I convert to lowercase, and then I check if that's equal to something that isn't defined anymore. Okay. So what I need to do now is actually look up this key inside. This is not defined. Why is that what the error is? Expected declaration found return. Oh. Okay, there we go. Now we got all the errors. Okay, good. Yeah, equals key. So key's not defined. What we need to do this time is actually look up key name inside of the map. So what did I call my map? Well, it's just RC. So we got RC. Let's see. Am I gonna call it key? No, it's gonna be val. So I got val, comma, okay, equals do I use this anywhere else? Field by name. Okay, so I do need the lower version. Equals RC of strings dot to lower field. Okay, declare but not used. Oh boy. Okay. If okay. So if this key was in the config file, then yeah, location. Oh, this is so terrible. Probably I'm supposed to do a little bit more stuff here, but it seems to work. FOK equals special of key. Special I guess I should just say key is this. Okay. So if it's special, well, we don't check if it's special yet. We just do that. So we find the key, we're gonna set it. If we don't find the key, then we just use the default, which we already set when we initialized red up here. So that's good. Okay. Reflect. Okay, I want to change all of these comps to reds. Okay, deltas is going to be a special function. I'm going to put that up here. Deltas string panic unimplemented. Okay. We'll come back to that. Lock.set string. Okay. Couldn't parse %s as int on 1. Okay, we can take this part out. Okay, is that 82? Oh, the pain. Alright, we'll just do it like that. Actually, will it do this for me? Sometimes MetaQ, what is you run? Fill paragraph. Sometimes it works impressively well. It works really well in makefiles. Maybe Go mode doesn't define what a paragraph should look like. It works disastrously in Go mode. It will, like, if I hit it here, it puts the whole function on one line. Look at this. Hilarious. Couldn't parse %s as a float. DT paren. There we go. Okay. Uncut type %s on key. We'll do the key here. I should have done that on all of them actually. Let's undo what I just did. Should make this key. That way it actually shows you what where in your input file the error is. Okay. Process input. Test process input. This doesn't exist anymore. I think I can just delete this. We might write a test for toConfig at some point, but I really don't feel like doing that. Call of reflect.value.elem on struct value. Okay. Okay, so one of these I must have missed. Let's see, test. Yeah. I must have called that on something that needs to be handled by a special extractor. I need to put it down there. On struct value, I'm guessing, okay, it's not Q. The string should be easy, that should be fine. Oh, what happened? Energy line. Oh, I know this is when I should use a debugger, but what I actually do here is just write print statements. So, because if I run it again, it'll just, the last one it prints is the one that's causing trouble. Energy line. Oh. Value of field by name. Oh my. Fuck that value. Okay. Why didn't that happen before? Maybe I need this. Oh. Oh, okay. I see. Oh. Why did it only print one key? Parse in file. Test parse in file. It only printed one key. What? That's the only one it found? somewhere? Break. Oh! Okay, yes. So, originally, I wanted to break when I found 1. But I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, that certainly explains that. Alright, let's see how this goes. Great, perfect. Okay. Okay, so we want to actually parse the deltas. Perfect. So deltas. I need to go into this test. Don't look at that as well. It's terrible. And I need to delete this. So we should get a lot more failures now. Yeah, 69. Perfect. So the deltas are always wrong. Actually, it should have panicked. Why is it not panicking? Okay. 6. Oh, it's only, no, 14 error. Okay. So it looks like the problems we're having, we're not actually parsing the deltas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got 0, 1, and 6. So basically we're not handling any of these. Alright, so let's add this back in. Process geom uses the geometry to update deltas and calculate chords. I'm not sure it uses deltas. Oh, yeah, I don't think it touches deltas. Okay. Cart rule. Okay, so I think I can still call process geom, but we want to call it on red. That should take care of the in chords part. Excellent. Okay. Now we need to take care of deltas. I don't know why it's not. So I think I can always call this on so in this case I actually don't want to do anything. I'm just going to return. So catch it, don't cause any trouble, but just return, get out of there. Let's try that. Because if it's empty, it should be able to handle it being empty. Okay, this is great. Let me actually go here. So we might make it. I think I don't mind actually mutating the config with parse deltas, because we're doing that in the other ones. So let's change this. And let's get rid of this. And everywhere we see ret, deltas. Okay, and so the reason, as you guys may have seen in the to-do I wrote, that I think I deleted now, is that if we hop over to the main file, and I jump to initialize, you see that I'm having to do some additional checks in here. Let's see. So I parse the input file, and then I have to do stuff like this. So these are like checking, well, this is a bad example, but like this. I'm doing a switch on conf.package, and then I'm having to set, I need to take these out. Print line. Is I'm having to like set the queues, right? I'd like to be able to do that somewhere else. Probably I should also set this program somewhere. Let me see. Prog. Yeah, so that should be taken care of in parse.in file actually. This should all be taken care of when I parse the input file, because this is obviously part of the config, right? Conf.package, and I'm setting these queues. I should set those when I parse the input file. Where am I even getting to? Let's see if there's anything else like that. There's not really anything else like that, so it's not so terrible, but it's a little terrible. I think I have some more switches like that in here. Let's see. Let's grep for it. Switch on conf. Yeah, how about this? I have to switch on conf.deriv. I think that one, I think that makes sense. Because this is just reading from it, right? But what I really don't like about the initialize part is that I'm having to set stuff. So if I go to initialize, I'm having to set stuff in this area. This should be taken care of in, is this a global? Why is it not in global? Oh, probably because I wanted to give it a default value. Okay. Yeah, this code's a little bit of a disaster. This is kind of my first big programming project, and I've just got global variables everywhere. Not everywhere. They're fairly restricted, but they still exist. And the more things I do working on this, the more obvious I see that that's not a good idea. So I'm working on fixing that. And today, we're taking care of some of it with this config stuff. So alright, let's see what else. So now, this is coming from which queue, I think? Is that right? Which, oh, let me put that go. Let's see what else is loitering down here. So where am I supposed to be setting energy lines? Which program? Okay. So this is an example. Let's see. Config. This sets config.energyLine based on the chem program. Okay. So this one's a little tough because basically we're going to have some conflicting options here. And this is where defaults actually cause some trouble, because I can't check if the energy line is nil, because in the default I make it not nil. I guess I could check if it's equal to the default value. why did I even add energy line as an input parameter? I'm trying to remember why I did that. I think I've used it before. So I do want to be able to set it directly. This is one occasion when it would actually be nice for the order in the input file to matter, because I think it would be fine to take the last defined one. I guess what I'm thinking right now is if you explicitly define the energy line, that should take precedence over this like implicit rule. Now the other thing that's kind of annoying about this is that we've got basically two things going on here, right? Like it says it's for setting config.energyLine, but that's not really what it does. It's mostly a switch. Well, it is a switch on the program type, but in some cases it's just doing this, right? This is the only case, and these aren't really exclusive. So CCR shouldn't even be lumped in here. Maybe I actually just take this part out, because this is the troubling part. And I can make it so you have to put in energy line if you're using CCCR. Yeah, because these aren't mutually exclusive. Now what I could do is make it so if you parse, I could have there be some special values for energy line that they're like predefined. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So CCCR is no longer a program. It's going to be an option for energy line. So I can put that in here. Okay. If, oh boy. Oh, S is the, it gets called with the value. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so if S equals CCCR, the key, does it get called with special of key? And key is the lower. Okay, so S equals CCCR. And this should not be C, this should be ret. These all need to be ret. If S is this, else ret equals this. So we'll have a special case. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and make this a switch on S, assuming that one day I'll have some more special cases. Default case. Fantastic. Okay, much better. Well, you know what I could do, actually? Well, not quite like that. In this case, let's just set S equal to this. Okay. Special case for CCR. Okay, that's fantastic. So now when I look at which queue, or which program, okay, it doesn't do this anymore. Which program? This is the only place I use this. Okay, so config doesn't need to have program anymore. It doesn't need to be actually a part of this struct. It just needs to be a recognized keyword. So that's the other thing that this allows me to do, is I don't have to pack all this stuff into the config. Since there are these two passes, I can handle some things in just this first section. Okay, so we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to define another one of these. Program func s string, and this will be a switch on s. Switch s, cart, default if not specified. I mean, you don't really need a default. Well, I mean, we already have a default. And this doesn't get called unless program is defined. Okay, I think I can delete this. Default not. Probably should put panics in all of these. It should not be conf, it should be ret. Ret. Okay, great. Got sick, wanted Molpro. Oh, that's because I want to delete this. Oh no. Commands file mismatch. Oh no. Alright, this is actually a good opportunity. Let me just make this. This is a good opportunity to show something off. So, what I want to do is split this. I'll go down to this one, and then I can run compare windows, and it'll take me to the first place that it differs. Oh. Probably could have found that just by looking, but at least I got to show that off anyway. Okay, so something's going wrong with the name. We'll protest. I want it to look like this. What file am I reading? T temperature conf. Temp2 is conf. Conf.chunk size 2. Q. Test Q. Push. Wow. Okay, so it looks like here that I am just relying on a config to have been made. Yeah, I'm definitely wondering how many things like that we're gonna find. So this is relying on some global config that was never read. Great. Okay. Let's see. What else? Are there any other differences? Honestly, I may just change this because there's no geometry. If that passes, I'm happy enough with that. Okay, great. So let's compile again, and this time short equals 0. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. Oh no. Again, this is using the global config. Yep. Okay. So I do not want conf to equal new config. I want conf to equal parse in file tests sync.in dot to config. Beautiful. Okay. You know what? Why don't we just not? We'll just leave it like that. Exit status 5. That's in QSub. Or exit status 5. Yeah, so this one doesn't have geom, and that's because of the same thing. So this is in test cart. Oh, tset cart. Test cart. Conf should not equal whatever I set it to. Not new config. Test.in file. So if this works, oh thank goodness. Okay, so that's working. Beautiful, beautiful. It should crash when it gets to test gradient or test gradient. Grab that. Test grad. Conf equals this. Go. Didn't short sleeping, something we never want to see in the tests. Alright, well this went pretty smoothly. So the last thing I'm going to want to do before I shut off the recording for the day is probably extract that piece from initialize in the main file and put that into the config parsing again, like I mentioned earlier. Oh no. Oh, those are huge. That's not good. What's going on here? I think I ran into this before. I need to figure out. Ah, man, what's going on? Oh, I think. Oh God, I forgot. I think the problem is sec equals false. Yeah, alright, let's do another print line. Cart, sec, grab. So the first two should be false, and then all tests pass. Alright, so that's the problem with running just that test. So when you run that by itself, it's probably fine. But when I run the other ones as well, they're manipulating the global state. which is something I'm trying to take care of with these stupid globals. Now, obviously I'm still not there yet. Alright, well, anyway, we're an hour in. I'm just tracking down some of these stupid global errors. I think I've showed off basically everything I wanted to show. I'm not sure I really showed off anything too exciting today, but it's kind of fun to do these videos where I just do some live coding that I was going to do anyway. So hopefully you guys get some enjoyment out of it, and I'll see you next time.